Hi fellow crocheters, it's Janet with CrochetPatternsForBeginners.com. Thanks so much for stopping by today. Let's learn a new stitch. I don't know about you, but I really like crochet stitches that actually also look like knitting stitches, because I feel like for those of us that don't really know how to knit, which I do, but I'm very novice at it. I'm not advanced at knitting like I am at crocheting. I just really like the look of knit sometimes, and I want things to be a little more smooth or flat. So I'm working on this these overhauls, which I'll have the pattern up here shortly. But in the meantime, it is with this faux knit stitch, which is also called the waistcoat stitch. So let's get started and let's learn something new today. All right, the good news about this, guys, is that it's super easy and it's just single crochet, but just looking at it in a different way. So go ahead and let's chain 11, because we're going to work across 10 stitches today. That'll be comfortable. It's a comfortable number, and it'll get everybody used to just doing what they need to do. So today I have some number 3 yarn, and I've got an H or a 5mm hook, and I'm going to right now just go ahead and with everybody else just go ahead and do that chain 11. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. Okay, all right, go ahead and single crochet into the second chain from the hook. Again, guys, the first chain, we never crochet into that. I don't know if there's ever a pattern that's written for that, but I don't have one. So it's the second chain from the hook, and we're just going to single crochet across, which means that we will be working today with 10 stitches. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what this is like to get it started, but I'm also going to pick that piece up. Like I said, that piece is a work in progress. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you what it looks like. As everybody knows, the first row of anything always is a little wonky. It's laying down that first row. Sometimes it's laying down 2 or 3 before we really get to see the beauty of a pattern. So I'm going to show you this from the beginning so that you understand exactly where to insert the hook, because that's all it is. It's just a single crochet, but just inserting the hook into a different spot, okay? All right, so I'm going to continue on with my 10 single crochets, and then at the end of this row, I am going to chain 1 so that we can turn. And then we're going to get started on our waistcoat stitch. All right. Okay, so I chained 1 and I've turned. Now let's look at the composition of really what a single crochet stitch looks like, okay? Normally, we crochet, and before I get started, I just want to put up a little a tip that is going to get you through this stitch. If you are a tight crocheter, please don't even do it. Don't think about it. Don't do it. You're gonna get very frustrated with this stitch if you're a tight crocheter. You've got to loosen up. Let's loosen up. Let's lighten up. Let's just have some fun. Okay, but don't go at this like attacking it like tight, because it's not gonna work for you. Okay, all right, normally what we do here is we would just go ahead, and this hole right here of the stitch, we would just insert our hook into there, and we do a normal single crochet. Well, no, we're not going to do that today. We are going to do it on the first one. I don't like to do the single or the waistcoat into the first one. I just do a single crochet. So everybody go ahead and single crochet into the first stitch. All right. Now this stitch, believe it or not, we are going to skip. That is a post. Okay, we're going to skip that. Now let's look closely at the composition of the single crochet stitch. Okay, there's like a bump there. This is the space where we normally would go in, and then there's a V. You can see that V. I want you to stick your hook in between that V, not into the space where we normally would, but into the V and separating it. See how you're doing that? You're separating those two pieces. All right, now just go ahead and do a single crochet. But before you close up, I want you to just pull up a little bit. Just pull up a little bit on that stitch. And like anything else, crochet is also really, it's about, once you have the knowledge of the mechanics of something, crochet is a lot about feel. It's like you have to feel right about what you're doing. And then you'll know that you're not pulling too tight or you're crocheting too loosely. It's a feeling. So you'll get the feeling on this once you get started on it. All right, so here we've got the next stitch. Okay, so we're just going to separate those V's, and we're going to go right into the center of that V, into the post of the stitch, not into the hole or the space like here. Like, see, there's a V here. All right, if you look at this, there's a V on top, and then there's a V right here. All right, we're going into the post V, and we're just going to separate it. Okay, and pull up a little bit. Now let's take a look at what we're doing here. See how we're creating that V? That looks like a stockinette stitch for knitters. Knitters will know what we're talking about here. If not, you'll have seen this stitch because it's really all over the place. It's one of the basic stitches of knitting. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's stick our hook in between those V's again. Okay, give it a little tug, pull up, friendly little, creating a looser stitch so that when you go back into it, you can do it easily. And like anything else, the first row is always just a little more challenging. Okay, but see how I'm pulling up on it? It's not like I'm making it super loose, but see, that gives it, because this stitch is a little bit longer. It's taller in height wise. So you want to give it a little more of a looser tension when you're pulling up on it. So just, yep, there you go. Okay, one more. All right, one more. Sorry, I said one more too soon. Okay, and the last stitch, just go ahead and do a single crochet and then chain one and turn. Now I'm going to show you how to work with this stitch to make the edges perfectly square, because you want that. Okay, we have chained one and we have turned. We have laid out our first row of the waistcoat stitch. Go ahead and single crochet as you normally would into that first stitch. Alrighty. Okay, and what you've done is you've actually single crocheted into this stitch. So you're going to skip that one because you've already used it up. Okay, and then you're going to go into the next one and you're just going to single crochet between those two strands right into the top of the V. And we're going to continue to do that all the way across. Okay, there's our post, there's our bump there, and there's our V. We just want to separate that V going right into the center of it. And as long as you're not crocheting too tightly, this will not be a struggle at all. Once you get that first row laid down, it's super simple. And you'll just carry on like you normally would with your single crochet. Okay, so let's go right into that one more time there. All right, right into the center. Yep, or do. Give it a little tug, pull it up, and continuing across. Okay, and then there's our last post, and we want to do our waistcoat stitch into that, and then we want to go into that space there. Okay, so now we're going to chain one and turn. Now at the end, if you notice that I did go into the post and the space, and that's how you're going to be getting 10 stitches. If you don't do it this way, you're going to come up short 9 and you're going to say, Janet, I don't know why, but I have something that's kind of like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Well, that's not what we want, obviously. Okay, so again, we're going to crochet, single crochet into the first stitch, and you can do the waistcoat stitch into that one if you want. I just don't. I find that my stitches, my sides are a lot more even, and when I'm putting something together, like like my baby pattern for those overalls, it's easier to seam it up when the edges are not so bulked out and you can see the stitches to sew. Okay, so that means that we've already used up that stitch, so we're going to skip that first post, and then we're just going to continue right into the next one. Again, see how easy this is? And your stitches, like I said, if you're giving it a little tug when you're inserting the hook and pulling the yarn through, then you're going to be okay. Now look, isn't that pretty? See how that looks like a stockinette stitch or a knit stitch? That's awesome. Okay, so I've got you started on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over here, and I'm going to show you something that's really got some rows laid into it, so that you'll see how easy this is to continue on. Okay, so I have done my, on this one, I'm just going to pull this out so you can see. I've done my last post, and I'm going to go into that space as I normally would, do my single crochet, chain one, and turn. Okay, here we go. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that first one and single crochet like I normally would, and I'm going to skip that first post because again I've already used that, and I'm just going to go ahead and insert my hook into that V that we formed before. There we go, right into that V. And just keep doing it. And look at that. Do you see how flat this is? Like, it's really flat. It's just like a stockinette stitch. I will tell you though that if you're going to do this, you might want to consider using a larger hook than normal if you can't relax your stitches enough to like get the tension correct to meet the gauge of your pattern, or if you're making one yourself, if you just want to use this for something, you might just want to go up a hook. I'm using the recommended yarn for this, which is, even though it's a number 4, this is Karen Simply Soft, so I rate this as a number 3 personally, but that's not what it says on the yarn sleeve. But go ahead and just do it. Like I said, just loosen up a little bit. If anything, on the height of the stitch, just give it a nice little, loosen up your tension a little bit. Not so much that it's, you know, going to be loose and wonky, but just enough to allow for the tallness of this stitch. All right, I hope you enjoyed this waistcoat stitch, and I hope this tutorial helped you. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to see the patterns that I've got, you can visit crochetpatternsforbeginners.com or myhandmadebaby.com, or I also have knittingpatternsforbeginners.com. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you all have a blessed day.